This is the Digital Shelf Insider podcast of Metrics Card. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Digital Shelf Insider podcast of Metrics Card. I'm your host, Shrestha, and today we have Francois joining us again. This is the second time we have him on the Digital Shelf Insider podcast, and Francois was one of the first guests to join us when we launched the podcast back in November. He is the e-commerce department manager at Venus, and you should surely check out his content on LinkedIn. He shares valuable expert advice on recent developments in the marketplace. Hello, Francois. Welcome back to the Digital Shelf Insider podcast of Metrics Card. How are you doing today, and how does it feel like to be back here?
Hi, doing right. Thank you for having me back. It feels good to be back, and I've seen all the progress we made, and I'm very impressed. So I think today should be an exciting episode for me, and just wanted to say congratulations on the progress you're making with the podcast. I'm very impressed with how many episodes you are releasing every month.
Well, thank you. So last time we explored more on the product discovery during holiday season. And in this episode, we're going to hear from Francois on what are the things that the brands need to keep top of mind when launching a product on Amazon. So firstly, let me ask you, what kind of product should you launch on Amazon in 2025?
That's a good question, and let's go back in the past first, and let's see what Amazon was like 10 years ago. I would say 10 years ago, Amazon was such an amazing channel. There were so many options for people to create businesses. A lot of categories were open. The prices were surprisingly higher than now, and high enough that you could generate a profit. And even the fees and the charges on Amazon, it was much lower than now. So I think COVID changed everything. And now the marketplace becomes so much more competitive.
Yeah.
There is a lot of people during COVID, they thought that e-commerce was easy money, and they started the business. There were all the Chinese suppliers that joined Amazon. I think there might be more Chinese sellers than American sellers on Amazon today. But today, many categories are completely saturated. The prices tend to be lower because of the competition, and the fees and the cost increased. So it's not a very easy business environment.
Yeah.
And another big change is that advertising that used to be something people use to increase their sales, it was optional. Today it's necessary, so that's another problem for sellers. So I'm not saying Amazon you cannot be successful. I think you need to come up with the right products. If you want to show up and sell the same stuff as everybody else, it's not worth it. It's going to be very difficult for you to stand out and to compete, especially on pricing. If you want to compete on pricing and say, hey, I'm going to launch this product and be cheaper than the competition, it's not going to work because it's becoming, very difficult. I'm sure you've seen that and you experienced that with other people you talk to, but pricing is getting difficult. And even if you want to resell items for an existing brand, that's also more difficult because there's a lot of brands that want exclusivity on Amazon and they don't work with resellers anymore. But to be successful in 2025, what I think is you really need some good profit margins. I think profitability is the most important thing on Amazon today. So for brands wanting to launch on Amazon, I see two options. The first one is if they already have a brand that is successful off Amazon, maybe at retail stores, maybe on Walmart, maybe they have their own D2C websites, then I'm pretty sure they can be successful on Amazon, especially if their brand is well known and people research for them. So not worried about these people. The other option is if you have a new brand launching on Amazon for the first time, maybe that's your first channel even, you need to bring something new and innovative, something that brings value to the customer, and something that they cannot find already on Amazon. And it doesn't have to be something crazy innovative like a new technology. Maybe if you sell some accessories for barbecue grills, and you will have a lot of competition, but you can differentiate yourself by including some new accessories, maybe a booklet with recipes, just something that stands out and will differentiate your products. And over the long term, I think what's really important when you launch a product on Amazon is making sure your competitors cannot really duplicate the product. Maybe because you have unique features, you have trademark patents, or just because your brand is so cool that everyone wants it.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are the two best things you can launch on Amazon, either existing brand that is successful
Yeah.
or something new and innovative.
Makes sense. You just spoke about innovation and something the brand must do to stand out in the market when it's Amazon. So, when it comes to launching a new brand, what do you think is the right way to set up the product pages that drive sales? And right now, with Rufus AI, we also see there is a space for conversational commerce that's being created, and there's a requirement from the brand's end to have their listing optimized with sort of natural, engaging language. So, how do you think brands can really incorporate uh, conversational commerce element to their listings when they launch newly?
Yeah, that's a good question because of all the talk about AI.
Yeah.
I think it's important here also to understand the history and how uh, typically a product is successful on Amazon. I would say need two things. The first one, and I think we talked about it in the previous episode,
Right.
is discoverability, making sure your product can be found by customers. In that case, you can, of course, use advertising to show your product to as many people as possible, but you want to use keywords. So it's not very conversational. It's more like making sure the algorithm will find your products. But what changed right now is that there's AI suggesting product to people, either through Amazon features like Rufus,
Yeah.
or through ChatGPT, Gemini. All these AI tools that people are using can recommend products. And the way for the AI to find the product is through making sure you can find it. So that's more on the back end. But I would say for now, no one really knows how to optimize for AI. Some people claim to know how that works. I would say it's very difficult for me to believe it because AI is changing every single day. So I think that's something that we will learn more about in the future. And the second thing you need to generate sales on Amazon is conversion. Once the person finds your product, you want them to purchase. And I think that's a mistake many people are making these days with AI. They use AI a little too much for copy. So, of course, you can use AI. I think that's a good way to supplement your ideas, to proofread your content. But I think as a business owner, as a marketers, you're the one person who knows your brand and your product the most. So you need to come up with the best content you can. You need to come up with something clever. I think the human touch will bring some authenticity that can be missing sometimes on Amazon. And you need to get the right balance of conversational language and images that you create and some more technical stuff. The visuals, of course, are very important.
Yeah.
AI can now look at images. So everything you include in images will be scanned by AI now. Very important. And finally, and I think that's something that many people are disregarding is the reviews. Of course, the better reviews you have and the better the reviews are, is the best for your business. But I think even the content of the reviews itself, what people are saying, is important because AI and customer will read that stuff.
Yeah.
Something I love about Amazon, something they did right, is that they allow users to post videos and pictures of the product.
Yes.
For example, you buy a new shirt and you want to see what it looks like on normal people, not like the model or the images.
Yeah.
Then what you can do is look at the reviews and see what does it look like on something that kind of looks like me.
Yes.
Uh, and one more thing I want to touch on is compliance. You want to make sure once you get your product discovered, once people are buying, you want your product page to stay on Amazon. You don't want them to remove it.
Yeah.
So you don't want to violate Amazon terms of services. And in my opinion, it's not black or white. There's a lot of gray areas because it is so complex. I personally, I prefer to be on the side of caution and be very careful with what I do because maybe you've seen this on Amazon seller forums or you heard people. When you get your account suspended, it's a nightmare for sellers.
Okay.
Very, very difficult and expensive to get it back.
Makes sense. As much as it's important to look into the product page optimization, it's also very important that we look into the kind of product assortment and variations that a brand needs to consider while launching a new product or a brand itself. So, what is the mix of SKUs and product options that will set them up for success?
When you mean mix of SKUs, you mean in terms of variations for one existing product?
Yes.
Oh, well, this one, the variations, again, it depends if you have an existing business or not. If you have an existing business and you already have your variation, you will know which one is selling the most. You will know which one you want to create and sell on Amazon. So that's pretty easy for you.
Yeah.
If you're a new brand, again, getting started, you have one product, maybe you want to expand. I think the mistake that people are making is to create too much complexity and launch 50 different variations of one product. I think this creates unnecessary complexity, and it's better to have a smaller assortment, at least when you get started. Because I don't know if you remember, but even 5 years ago, people were launching 50 variations of every ASIN because they wanted to saturate Amazon with as many products as possible. And that worked. I've seen it working for many companies. I don't think it's less relevant today, less effective, because marketing again is so saturated. There's so much stuff that you're not going to stand out with 50 variation. Maybe 1 to 5 of them will work, and then you're going to waste your money and time on everything else. So my favorite variation, and this one is very important, is the count and the size. I'm talking specifically about multipacks. And that's a great way to increase profitability. I say that profitability is the name of the game on Amazon in 2025. When you sell, and I'm going to take the example of Amazon FBA. I know we'll get to that later in the episode. But when you sell, let's say, 1 bag of coffee using Amazon FBA, Amazon might charge you $5 for shipping. Now, if your customers buy 10 bags of coffee, then you will not get any volume discount. Amazon will charge you 5 times 10 bags, so 50 bags for shipping. But if you do a multi-pack and you sell a pack of 10 bags sold as one whole unit, then you will be charged based on weight and size. So maybe not $5, but maybe 15, 20. So this way you can make huge savings on shipping costs. You can pass some of these savings on to your customers and keep the rest for you as profits. So my point is, for variation, it can be difficult and time consuming for business. So I think brands must do it strategically and not just throw everything they can at the marketplace.
So true. So let's just talk a little bit more about fulfillment. That's FBA versus FBM and the third party logistics. How does that look like in 2025? What is the approach that brands need to go with?
Well, let me maybe clarify from some people listening. FBA stands out for fulfilled by Amazon. That is when Amazon is handling shipping and product fulfillment, and even customer service. When you're a business owner and e-commerce, you get millions of people asking you, "Hey, where's my stuff? I have not received my product." So the FBA program will handle everything for you. I think this is an amazing program for the smaller businesses that needs more time to spend on sales and marketing, and even customer service can be very time consuming. And with Amazon FBA, the shipping cost can be very reasonable compared to what a small business could do. If you're in the US and you went to USPS, UPS, FedEx, you see that shipping a package can be very expensive, and you will realize that FBA rates can be very competitive. Now, sellers, they must understand that there's a lot of other costs involved. It's not just shipping, but there's storage and incoming inventories and a lot of other things. But I would say in 2025, FBA can still be profitable, and it's not the worst solution. And another big advantage of FBA that's disregarded is that it gives you access to the Prime program. When you sell with FBA, all of your products are Prime eligible. So, in the US, everyone has a Prime membership. So that's something that's absolutely necessary to be Prime eligible. And that's something you will not get with the FBM. So now FBM, um, that's fulfilled by merchants. This is when, as the merchant, you ship everything yourself, and you process orders, and you're in charge of customer service. That gives you a lot more control. This is what I like, because with FBA, everything comes in an Amazon box, so the branding experience is not the best. With FBM, you have a lot more control, and sometimes you can get even better rates. I mean, I've heard stories about brands getting better shipping rates with FBM. Um, you can even work with a 3PL, so a third-party logistic provider. It's like outsourcing your logistics, but not to Amazon, to another company. You need the volumes to justify it. You cannot do this if you sell 5 units a month. But when you reach a couple hundred orders a month, then you can think, hey, should I work with Amazon? Should I do this in-house? Third-party logistics, there are many options available. I think it's important that businesses understand the pros and cons. So I gave you the pros, not the cons of FBM is obviously time-consuming, sometimes more expensive. Not always the prime eligibility. With FBA, there's a lot of other problems, like the cost structures can be complex and a little difficult. Inventory management is not always easy, especially around the holidays. The storage fees can be expensive. So each business can really try to understand which solution is the best for them. My advice is just do your research, understand the pros and cons. But basically, FBA, you save time, but less control. FBM, yes, it's time consuming, but you have a lot more control over the process. One last thing with FBM, you need to be compliant with Amazon terms of services, because Amazon, they want to ship everything fast to the customer. So you need to ship your order fast enough, and you need to comply with a million different things. So each solution has different challenges and different profitability.
That makes sense. So what are the most effective ways to protect a brand from counterfeits and unauthorized resellers?
That's a good question, because every brand is affected differently by fake products or even unauthorized sellers. The first step is, of course, outside of Amazon. It's if you sell on Amazon, you have a business, and whether you sell on Amazon, Walmart, your own website is going to be the same. You need to register your intellectual property, your trademarks, your patents, your brand. That's the first step. If you want to work with distributors, they need to sign agreements with them. We touched on that on a previous episode, but you need to discuss, of course, pricing, but also the brand policy. And once you launch on Amazon, then you need to be in the brand registry. You need to register your brand into Amazon, which gives you a lot more control over your listing. And that is necessary if you want Amazon to take action when there's a violation, or either fake products, unauthorized sellers, a lot of things. So to register your brand, you need a trademark. That's something you do before selling on Amazon. But if not, there are workarounds. I think there's the Amazon IP Accelerator.
Right.
From there, there's some useful program to know of. For example, there is something called Amazon Transparency that is adding barcodes to your product, unique scannable barcodes to authenticate your products. And from there, it's ongoing work. You need to monitor unauthorized sellers. You need to monitor fake products, because that can really damage your sales and your reputation. There is also some software you can use to track these unauthorized sellers. You can work with agencies. That's very useful because that is so difficult. I really recommend, if you have the money for it, to work with an agency for these violations, these unauthorized sellers. And well, of course, the last step is taking legal actions, but hopefully you don't reach that point. There's many things you can do before that.
Right. I think I completely second you on the fact that, I cannot keep stressing how important it is to monitor and enforce minimum advertised price. Also, like some of the brands, electronic category that has worked with us at Matrix Card have seen like great results, but just staying in the know in a very timely manner with their map violations on time.
Yeah, and I think that's important to work with people like you because you you don't realize how bad this is affecting you. The first my first few years in e-commerce, I was a little upset when I was seeing a pricing variation, but I didn't realize how bad it was damaging my business and my sales on Amazon.
Yeah.
So very important to get rid of that. But again, very time consuming for sellers. So working with professionals can be extremely helpful here.
Right. Uh, what do you think are the big mistakes sellers are making when launching a product on Amazon?
That is my favorite questions, and you told me you wanted to talk about this one, so I prepared my top five list of mistakes,
Yes.
and I'll start with the number five. Number five mistake is to rely too much on pay-per-click advertising. As an Amazon seller, you will get millions of agencies telling you they will fix your business, they will fix your advertising, they will double, triple your sales, whatever. But maybe sometimes it can work. Advertising is useful. I'm not denying this. But if you have a bad product that's too expensive, you have bad reviews, advertising is not going to fix all of this. What's going to happen is you're going to waste your money on advertising to show the product to everyone,
Yeah.
but no one will want it. So advertising, very useful. It's almost necessary today, but it's not a silver bullet that will fix all of your problems. Mistake number four is bad inventory management. You really don't want to be out of stock, especially not on the marketplace, because if you're out of stock, obviously you are missing out on sales. You will see your sales drop, but what's going to drop is your rankings.
Yeah.
And your competitors' ranking will increase. If the customer is searching for your product on Amazon, they don't find you, they will go to the competitor.
Yeah.
And maybe when you're back in stock, they will never come back. But the other mistake is to overstock. If you buy too much, then you will pay way too much in shipping costs and you will suffer with your cash flow. You will have cash flow issues. So you need to find the right balance. And that's where I think inventory management, you need to be on top of that.
Yeah.
Number three, I talked about it earlier, is not knowing Amazon terms of services and get suspended. Obviously, if you get suspended, you're in big trouble. So you really want to make sure you comply with Amazon terms of services.
Yeah.
And I know that's complex, that's very difficult to understand, but I encourage the sellers to learn as much as they can about what to do, what to not do, because once they're in trouble, it's very difficult to get your account back.
Yeah.
Now, number two mistake, second biggest mistake people are making, in my opinion, and I'm talking about Amazon in this podcast, but I'm talking about, this means way more than Amazon. This is everywhere in every business, online or offline, is not understanding financials.
Oh, yes.
And this is especially true for new entrepreneurs. I'm not saying you need to get an MBA to start the business. You don't need fancy education or degrees, but it's necessary to understand basic finance, to understand your profit margins, where the money is going in, where your money is going out, and especially on Amazon, because that can be so complex with all these fees and charges. So make sure you know where your money is going. I would recommend new entrepreneurs not very comfortable with finances to not go back to school for 5 years, but just open a good book or ask their friends, ask people online, maybe even work with a consultant or an agency for a short period of time. Because if you don't understand your financials, you will lose money for sure.
Definitely.
You look at, again, go back to the Amazon seller forums and see all these people saying, hey, my stuff is selling, but my bank account is decreasing. I don't know what's going on. And this is what happens when you don't understand your financials. But what is the biggest mistake people are making, in my opinion? And I think this one is the worst and the most difficult and expensive to fix, is coming up with the wrong products. This is for me the biggest reason people fail that sell the wrong product on Amazon, especially today when Amazon is completely saturated. You cannot just copy something that is selling and hope for the best. You really need either an established brand or something unique that people cannot replicate, something people want, because it's just so competitive. Why would people buy something from you when there's a million other alternatives? So something people desire, the brand. Mhm.
And it's so competitive out there.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you look at like computer mouse, how many do you find on Amazon? I think there's, I would say there's at least 10,000 computer races sold on Amazon today.
Yeah.
So you need to bring something people desire, brand, features, pricing, although I don't recommend it. But Amazon is no different than other channels that regard. If you show up with the wrong product, you're in trouble. Nothing cannot be fixed and your business will die.
Yeah.
But you need to do your research before you launch something.
Definitely. Those points were on spot, Francois. And I like your point 1 and 2, which is about wrong product and lacking a financial understanding. Because just last week, I was recording an episode with Dr. James Richardson. He's the author of How to Ramp Your Brand. And he pointed out these two things. I think the whole podcast recording stretched out to this conversation, how, the new CPG brand owners get their product wrong, or it's the lacking of financial understanding. So thank you for adding so much of value to this episode.
And something I want to add is just a disclaimer. I am not saying anything. I don't sell courses. I don't work for an agency. I don't have my own business. I work for a private company managing their e-commerce sales. But my advice is don't be afraid to reach out for help, because e-commerce is my passion. I love it. It's a great field, but it can be very complex. Right. So if you don't understand something, not sure of something, please ask someone maybe more experienced for their opinion, because every mistake you will avoid is money you're saving. Definitely. And I think it's a very great community. Anybody you reach out to, they are very open to conversations. So definitely asking is the solution. Yeah, I agree 100%. Yes. So we've come to the end of the episode, and this was such a great, much needed conversation with you for our listeners, Francois. Thank you so much for joining us and actually taking out the time for the second time. For stars, yeah. Thank you so much for having me here. We've come to the end of the episode. If you loved what you just listened to, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll be back next Monday with a really awesome guest. Stay tuned until then.